Ladies and gentlemen, hello. What else am I supposed to do? Hello? Is it working?
Hello, hello.
Oh, it is. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. How comes when Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our session number 6 on a classy subject. The classy subject about reducing costs of remittances. And I hope the subject is classy, but I hope the solutions and the issues we will talk about are avant-garde. And what exactly we want to look into in this session is the issue of remittances costs and giving the word to the remittances industry, looking into commercial challenges, but also looking into regulatory barriers to reduce costs. What exactly we want to do is, what are recent developments in the remittances industry in terms of, first of all, how do new markets look like? Second, what do new products look like? And what are the opportunities that stem from there? Secondly, we also want to have a look at how are regulations on the sending as well as on the receiving side affecting the costs of operating in the remittances market. And third, what is the way forward in terms of regulatory changes and technological innovation to facilitate remittances services for the poor? As I said, we want to give the word to representatives from remittances industry. We'll have some commercial, the opportunity to do some commercial break here. But I can tell you it's worth it, and it's worth listening to the colleagues on the panel. Who do we have on the panel? We have a mixture of different service providers in the field of money transfer. And the mix is particularly interesting because we have one representative from an organization which has already a longer history, and other representatives with not such a long history, but a lot of energy about coming over with new, innovative approaches. So be prepared for Mr. Sudhir Kumar Shetty from the president of UAE Exchange, Mr. Rajesh Agrawal, CEO and founder of SendPay from London, and Mrs. Lucille Paysan, she's CMO at AfriMarket based in France. We start with Sudhir Kumar Shetty. Please have your word.
Before I start the slides, let me give a brief background of the UAE exchange, how it operated, and how we are able to manage to bring down the cost of remittance to almost 2%, which is operating for the last 35 years in the UAE market. The company has its operation in 32 countries now. We have about close to 800 branches, retail branches in these countries, and last year alone, UAE Exchange has remitted $28 billion of remittances. Now, the founder, I need to talk about Dr. B.R. Shetty. The first business for the group was medical services to the migrant workers, because it was not easy in this country to have the medical services for the low-paid workers. It was very expensive, they could not afford. So that's the time the hospital business started in 1975, providing medical services to the migrant workers. Later on, there was an opportunity because these people who were migrating to the Gulf countries because of the oil boom, were not having proper channels to remit money back home. The banks were not really interested in handling these transactions, and they were not available for these workers when they were free to do a transaction. So there, Dr. Shetty saw the opportunity to start money remittance service. I'll just give you a brief rundown on how in the Africa region the cost of remittance is so high that yesterday Dilip was mentioning that this will ultimately save almost up to $20 billion of money going to the hands of the migrant workers and their families. The remittance and its fee, we have, of course, the figures indicate that 230 million migrants sending about $435 billion of remittances to 2014 figures. 7.8% is the current global average, but I think we have certain countries where it is going as high as 14 to 15%. The G20 countries and the World Bank target 5x5 initiative, UAE's remittance fee is the lowest in the world now. It is around 2%. Now, if you see the remittance flows to the two major markets in Africa, Kenya and Nigeria, and how these remittances are being used, we see the larger portion in Nigeria is for the land purchase, education and business, whereas in Kenya it is for food and house construction, health and house rebuilding and rent payments. The remittance to super tax, 2.3 billion lost to Africa because of the high remittance cost, which is around 14%. Example, for a $200 remittance, it is costing about $25. And the average percentage of cost of transferring $200 by the type of remittance. Now, banks are charging the highest, and in some countries, the money transfer operators are also charging as high as 14%. Now, how we were able to reduce the cost per transaction to 2%? We were one of the early adopters of technology. Of course, the initial stages we were having only checks that were drawn on various current accounts of correspondent banks that we were maintaining. The customers had to carry these checks to the post office, and then they had to send it by registered mail to their beneficiaries. One was the cost, additional cost, plus the time it used to take. It used to take almost 3 weeks for the checks to be received by the families back in their countries. Now, we saw an opportunity very early in the 1980s. As I said, Dr. Shetty started this money remittance business because the Gulf countries were receiving more number of migrant workers, especially from South Asia, Southeast Asia. And because of that, the medical service was started in 1975. Later, 1980, we started the remittance service through UAE Exchange. Except the banks, there weren't many formal money remittance channels available out of the Gulf region, and most low-earning migrants were unbanked. And the bank's infrastructure wasn't good, and working hours were not favorable. As I said, when the people were free to remit money, because they were all working in far-flung construction sites, they could come to the city only by 6 in the evening, banks were not available, or they were coming only during the weekends, the banks were not available. That's where we started our operation and started opening the UAE Exchange branches from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and all 7 days of the week. So the people started coming to the exchange branches, and we encouraged these people to open bank accounts in their home countries. The shift, the UAE Exchange encouraged migrants to choose formal means for sending money. This brought forex into the receiving economy's treasury. Many of the South Asian countries, because of the informal channels, they were losing the foreign exchange. Now, because we started opening bank accounts for the migrant workers back in their home countries, the channels provided which encouraged formal remittances into these bank accounts. Expanded bank branch network to improve customer proximity. extended working hours. Now, the journey, as I mentioned, we were issuing only checks drawn on correspondent banks in various currencies. Now, we first started off with our own IT development team within the company, and we started seeing how the technology could help us in eliminating the delay in delivering the money transfer. Now, 1996, we started downloading the data in the destination countries and started printing the checks in those countries. Instead of printing the checks in the remitting country and then the customer going to the post office to send it back to their home countries, we started downloading the data and generating the instrument in the home countries. So this reduced the time frame from 21 days, 25 days to 3 days. Why the informal channel was flourishing those days was they were very fast, because somebody would collect the local currency in the countries and they will deliver the local currency in the home countries. We had to beat those people in terms of speed, and then they were more cheaper compared to the interbank rates that we are offering. So first we wanted to reduce the time taken to put the instrument across. 1996 we started downloading the data and generating the instrument in the home countries. Then we got into SWIFT. So because of the SWIFT, we could get the access to almost all the banks worldwide, and UAE started attracting people from different parts of the world. Today we have 200 different nationalities living and working in UAE. We have 8 million population, out of which almost 7 million are expatriates, and this really helped us in putting the money across to even to the developed economies. Now, 1998, we started instant money product. We were the agents for Western Union, and we knew that the Western Union charges were very, very high. So we developed our own instant cash product called Express Money and brought down the transaction fee from $20 minimum to $4 for any transaction. Now, 2009, Max was mentioning, we got the MasterCard tie-up, and we are the only principal members for MasterCard among the money transfer companies. Now, what did we do? With MasterCard, we launched a card where the worker's salary could be loaded onto the card, and he could go to any ATM and draw cash, or we put up our own cash dispensing machines from where the salaries can be drawn. Now, how this card got introduced in the UAE was, the workers were being paid in cash, and most of the companies, they did not pay the salary for months together. 3-4 months the workers did not get the salary, then finally 1 month they will give, after the 4 months they'll give 1 month salary. And the salary or the wages given to the workers were not in conformity with the contracts the companies had signed. So the ministry was receiving a lot of complaints that the salaries or the wages were not being paid on time, and it was not in conformity with the contracts. So the Ministry of Labor got interested, and then they said we would ask the exchange companies or the banks to disburse the salaries on behalf of the companies. And this program is really something which all the other countries are looking at, because this enabled the workers to receive the salary or the wages on time and in conformity with the contracts. So the data or the information about the salary disbursal goes to the central bank of the country and the ministry real time. Now, along with this, we also launched a multi-currency travel card with the MasterCard platform, where the foreign currency or the people who travel, earlier they used to carry cash. Now they can carry this card, and when we load this card, exactly it is like a remittance. The card can be loaded, and the customer can go and take that card to any country that he wishes, and the customer can choose the number of currencies that he wants to load in this card. Now, apart from this, we also got into the standalone ATMs, where the customer need not come to the branch location. They can go to the ATM. They are all registered customers, and they can do a transaction on their own. In 2010, we launched Flash Remit, which is host-to-host connectivity with the correspondent bank. Now, by this, we were able to push the transaction directly to the customer's bank account, and it happened instantaneously. Within a minute, the customer could get the confirmation back in his mobile phone as a SMS alert saying that thank you for using the service, your account has been credited. And this happens 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Now, because of this, we are able to really offer the products at a very cheap price. Now, Max mentioned that in the UAE market, we offer all the remittances, regardless of the amount, for as low as $4. Now, we also started moving to the mobile apps and online remittance. We also have a portal called moneytoanywhere.com where the registered customers can log on and do a transaction. Now, the flash remit is instant bank transfer. It is faster than the instant cash because it works 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, and even on a public holiday, the customer's account can be credited. Now, this is about the mobile apps and the moneytoanywhere.com, and people have moved from the traditional brick and mortar transfer to the online transfers wherever possible. In certain countries, it is not still active because we don't have a direct debit facility happening. The mobile apps is slowly catching up in the Middle Eastern market, but in the other markets, now markets like US, Europe, and Australia, we are able to generate almost 35% of the total transactions through the mobile. Now, this is the Smart Pay I was talking about, the technology-driven MasterCard-powered facility within online salary loading facility and electronic payroll cards. Now, this is cash mode to card mode. These workers were paid always in cash. Now, all this cash is loaded onto the card, and from the card, they can use that card to do an online remittance transaction. Now, of course, the UAE exchange follows the EFQM, European Foundation for Quality Management, a lot of certifications in terms of security certifications and quality certifications, awards. Yeah. Now, apart from doing remittances, we continuously educate our customers to open bank accounts. Now, over the last 35 years of our history, we have opened more than 4 million bank accounts, and in the last 4 years, we have opened more than 1 million bank accounts for the customers. Now, in the previous session, they were mentioning about the Indian Prime Minister's Jan Dhan Yojana, where every family should have an account. He was mentioning that everybody has an account, but nobody is using the account. Now, this account has certain benefits because to encourage the account opening, the government announced that everybody will be given a free insurance and a small facility of 5,000 rupees, which is very small, but just to encourage people to open bank account. Now, if all the people in the receive countries have their bank accounts in place, I think this is where we can really manage the costs. Because you don't have a service provider, a receive agent, and a paying agent where you need to share the revenue. Here we are pushing the transaction directly into the bank account. This is, because of that, the cost of operation has become so low. So we are able to offer at such a low price. Of course, apart from doing this, we've in our markets, we had post 2008, a lot of people got into, financial problems, and we went out to all these places where these people are housed in the camps, and we started counseling them, how to judiciously use their money and not to get into debt trap. And these are all some of the community services. We go to the labor camps and also provide them some entertainment, show some films, arrange some competitions, because they are away from their families and socially they are not, somebody is not taking care of their requirements. So we go out and do all these sorts of things so that we build a relationship with those people, and they have the element of trust in the company. Now, we also join hands with UNICEF and United Nations for food program, and we are contributing to all these. In fact, in the recent Nepal tragedy, we were the first one to offer free remittances to Nepal. Not only to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, but also we said we will offer free remittance to the families. And the group, because we have the pharmaceutical manufacturing unit as well as medical services, we sent about, I think, some tons of medicines to Nepal. Now, UAE Exchange, at a glance, we have now 7.9 million customers worldwide, contributes 6% of the global remittance volume. Last year, we remitted $28 billion. Correspondent relations with more than 150 banks worldwide, and servicing over 400,000 customers every day. We are in 31 countries, 750 direct offices, and recently we acquired the TravelX global operation. So TravelX is part of our group now. And new horizons, of course, mobile money transfers. MoneyBeNet is one of the connectivities that agents can have and use our technology and the network. Yeah, our quest to reduce remittance cost will be successful only with the active participation from service providers, technological innovators, respective regulators and the governments. I must say that now the biggest challenge is the banks are not very happy to maintain accounts for the money transfer companies, and this is putting the money transfer companies into trouble, and thereby pushing the remitters to the informal channels, because if the money transfer companies do not operate, then the customers are not going to go to the banks to do the transactions, rather they will go to the informal channels. It is imperative that the banks realize this, and the regulators also realize this. And if the money transfer companies do not have a mechanism to settle their requirements through the banks, settlement banks, then the settlement to various countries will not happen. So it is very critical that the settlement bankers and the correspondent banks and the regulators look at this industry from the angle of the service to the humanity, because the banks can cite the reason that this is not becoming viable for us to maintain the accounts with the money transfer companies because of the KYC compliance issues. But companies like ours, we take care of the KYC to the maximum extent, and the guidelines and the regulations that we follow is very similar to what the banks follow when they start the relationship with the customer. I think I will close here and maybe take up questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shetty. I'm wondering whether you're discontent with the banks. Finally, is it a regulatory issue or is it a commercial one? But we'll have that for the discussion later on. And we proceed with Rajesh Agrawal from SendPay, please.
Thank you very much, Peter. And first of all, can I say thank you very much to the World Bank and to the United Nations. Special thanks to